For their 10th wedding anniversary, Ethan Wright finally had the epiphany to buy Claire Miller a luxury handbag. Claire posted a photo of the bag on her social media to document the moment, but she didn't expect a comment from a young woman to appear underneath. "Sis, that bag looks fake. Mine is the real one." Under the warm yellow lighting of the photos on the commenter's profile, the woman's features were exquisitely flawless. In the corner of one photo, a hand with distinct, prominent knuckles was visible. Claire recognized the ring on that hand's ring finger. It was the birthday gift she had made for Ethan, spending an entire afternoon at a DIY silversmith workshop. Claire clicked on the woman's profile and realized she was an influencer with a considerable following. Her bio was ambiguously suggestive. "Just call me Tiff 51 Pisces 62 Scorpio, our forbidden daily chronicles." In her posts, the man's face was never shown, but through his ring, their car, and his clothes, it was obvious that this person was Ethan. Her followers assumed the forbidden part of her bio was just a joke about their age gap, never suspecting it was an actual affair. Her hands trembling as she held her phone, Claire scrolled to the very first post on this account. "New to the company, my boss has way too much sexual tension. How do I pursue him?" The date of the post was a year and a half ago. In the photos, she wore revealing outfits, asking netizens for advice. Looking at the familiar outfits, Claire frowned. After checking, she realized she was actually the first person this woman had followed. The outfits Tiffany posted were exact copies of clothes Claire had posted on her own social media in the past, copied entirely without a single change. A helpful netizen had offered advice. "The style feels a bit too mature. Your face suits a younger style better." Tiffany Banks replied with a hand-over-mouth laughing emoji. "Who knows, maybe my boss eats up the old woman look." Her fingernails digging into her palms, Claire returned to her own page, only to find Tiffany had left more comments. "But looking at your age, sis, you probably aren't young anymore, right? At this age, don't worry about whether the bag is real or fake. Family and children are what matter most. Even if your husband buys a fake bag, just consider it him being thrifty for the family." When she mentioned children, Claire almost subconsciously recalled the dark days of the previous year. Ethan's work had suddenly become very busy, while their daughter's health had deteriorated. Lily had suffered severe allergic reactions. Her little face would swell up unrecognizable, her body covered in hives, nearly sending her into shock. Claire had been running between the hospital and home, her nerves so tight she couldn't relax for a moment. Because of her frequent leaves of absence, she was fired from her company. From that time on, Claire had stayed home to focus on taking care of their daughter and Ethan. Lily's sudden allergies left Claire helpless. Countless times, Claire sent messages to Ethan, but they went unanswered. Claire watched her daughter crying uncontrollably as her hand swelled from IV needles. Lily would touch Claire's face with her little hand, asking when Daddy would come. Claire, looking at the unresponsive screen, would softly comfort her. "Baby, don't blame Daddy. He is working hard to make money for us." Claire had believed he was pulling all-nighters at the office revising proposals for their future. But now, post after post was destroying her trust in Ethan bit by bit. The nights they hadn't spent together were pieced together by these fragmented records, painting a diary of ambiguity belonging to Ethan and Tiffany. "I finally got my boss to ask me out, sisters. Any advice? I pretended to be drunk, and my boss drove me home, but didn't come inside. Is he not interested in me? My boss gave me flowers. Does this mean he's going to confess his feelings? Sisters, I've decided to make the first move." During the 3 months Lily was hospitalized, the progress between Ethan and Tiffany skyrocketed. After their flirtatious push and pull, they finally posted a photo of them holding hands on the platform. Everyone underneath was congratulating them. It was their happy ending, but it was a lifetime of brokenness for Claire and her daughter. Claire opened WhatsApp. Ethan's chat was pinned to the top. She had always felt chat logs were precious memories, keeping years of history on her phone. Clicking open her chat with Ethan, Claire easily found the records from that time period. She could only see Ethan sending her busy and no time over and over again. It was also from that time that the frequency of Ethan staying out all night on business trips began to increase. While staring blankly at the chat box, Ethan sent Claire a message. "Do you like the bag? I have a business dinner tonight, go to sleep first." Business dinner again? She opened the chat search bar and typed in those 2 words. Over the past year and a half, his business dinners had more than doubled, yet Claire had never suspected him. Married for 10 years, the bond between Claire and Ethan was no longer just simple romantic love. It was a complex mix of family affection, love, and friendship that gave Claire absolute trust in him. But that unconditional trust was finally smashed onto the ground and shattered completely. Looking at the fake bag she had carefully placed on the table, Claire smiled. This marriage seemed to have been destroyed a year and a half ago. She was just realizing it now. The door was carefully opened. The clock had already reached 5 a.m. Ethan walked into the living room and was obviously startled to see Claire sitting on the sofa. He looked Claire up and down, quietly popped his collar up, and finally asked with false bravado, "Is the child asleep? Why are you sitting here so late? How will you take her to kindergarten later?" Actually, he didn't need to do that. From the moment he entered, Claire had already smelled the scent of women's cigarettes that didn't belong to her. 11 years ago, when Claire and Ethan met, the condition for dating him was that he quit smoking. Claire had allergic rhinitis. The smell of smoke made her cough incessantly. When Claire made this request, Ethan had almost immediately thrown all the cigarettes in his pocket into the trash can. Not to mention, after Lily was born, he would shield Claire and their daughter behind him even if he just saw a pedestrian smoking. But now he came home smelling of smoke. Previously, Claire thought it was because his work pressure was too great and didn't interfere much. But she forgot, a man in his mid-30s would never smoke strawberry-flavored cigarettes. Seeing Claire spacing out, Ethan sat next to her. The sudden proximity of the smoke smell made Claire start coughing. Hearing the cough, he instinctively handed Claire a bottle of water. In the gap of him reaching for water, Claire saw the red mark hidden under his popped collar. The sound of the lock opening rang out. Claire looked toward the door. Tiffany walked in familiarly in high heels, the lipstick on her mouth as bright as the mark on Ethan's neck. Seeing Claire, she blinked innocently. "Ethan, I didn't know your wife was here too." Taking off the jacket she was wearing, Tiffany handed it to Ethan, her bright red nails brushing against the back of his hand a few times. "I forgot to return your jacket to you, so I just came right in. Mrs. Wright, I've always heard you are virtuous and gentle. It was a bit cold outside in the early morning, so I borrowed Ethan's clothes. You won't be angry, right?" Claire ignored her clumsy excuse and turned to look at Ethan. "Why does she know the passcode to our house lock?" Claire's sudden question caught Ethan off guard. He touched his nose. "There was a time I forgot a file, so I asked Tiffany to get it for me. She's probably just smart and has a good memory, so she remembered it." Cheerful, smart, outstanding appearance, Ethan had described Tiffany this way in front of Claire more than once. Claire had once half-jokingly told him to behave himself and not betray her. Ethan had reacted like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. "What are you saying? She and I are 10 years apart. When I got together with you, she was still in elementary school. I've long considered her like a daughter." He had spoken so solemnly that Claire had never connected Tiffany and Ethan before. Suddenly, the title of the most popular post on Tiffany's account she had just viewed flooded into her memory. "What is it like to have a daddy-style boyfriend?" The compliments from the past had turned sour. Claire felt like she had become a part of their thrill-seeking play. He used all the beautiful adjectives to describe Tiffany, yet constantly disparaged Claire in front of outsiders. "My wife doesn't understand these things," was a phrase Ethan often used when introducing Claire to people. But the reality was the opposite. The person who didn't understand was clearly Ethan. Whenever there was a problem, he always had "I don't know" or "I can't" on his lips. When Claire asked him to buy groceries, he would buy spinach instead of lettuce. When Claire asked him to pick up their daughter from school, he could take the wrong road to kindergarten 3 times, and in the end, Claire would have to rush from home to bring them both back. When Claire asked him to fix a loose chair at home, he could ignore it for weeks. Gradually, after Claire realized that asking him to do things was just creating trouble for herself, she stopped asking Ethan to do anything. Claire learned to unclog drains, change light bulbs, and fix toilets, becoming the omnipotent mother in her child's heart. Claire tolerated Ethan, but she didn't expect that his thoughtfulness and warmth were given to another woman. With Tiffany, he was an experienced senior. Whenever she encountered something she couldn't do, Ethan would immediately handle it for her. Whatever she wanted to buy, Ethan would take her directly to the luxury counters. Claire's gaze fell on the small bag hanging on Tiffany's elbow. It was the same model as hers, but the shape was structured and the leather exquisite. In contrast, the one Claire had placed on the table looked incredibly rough and cheap. Just like now, Tiffany stood in the living room with exquisite makeup and stylish clothes, while Claire wore loose pajamas, her hair still in the messy braids her daughter had tied for her before bed. The stark contrast made Claire breathless. Ethan hurriedly patted her back to help her breathe. He sensed the abnormality. "What's wrong?" "Ethan," Claire's voice was hoarse from the violent coughing, "the bag you bought me is fake." The two people in front of her were stunned for a moment. Ethan looked at Tiffany in disbelief. Tiffany pursed her lips tightly, hiding her bag behind her back. She denied it. "Impossible, Ethan said you liked it, so he asked me to go to the boutique specifically to buy it for you. Mrs. Wright, have you been a housewife for too long? You can't even tell a real bag from a fake one, is that so?" Claire sneered. "Then take out your bag, and we'll go to the boutique together to get them authenticated." Claire stood up, attempting to grab the bag from Tiffany's hand behind her back. Before she could even touch her, Tiffany screamed and fell to the floor, looking pained as she clutched her ankle. "Tiff!" Ethan lunged to Tiffany's side in a single step, holding her ankle in his hands to examine it closely. Tiffany had a hairline fracture in her ankle. Before, how could you push her? Ethan's voice stopped abruptly. Following his gaze, Claire saw her daughter holding a plush toy, standing in front of the bedroom, looking at them in terror. Finally, her daughter's mouth fell open, and she burst into tears. Obviously, Ethan hadn't expected Lily to come out at this moment either. He looked at Claire, then at Lily. He sighed, draped his jacket over Tiffany, picked her up, and left the house. Claire and Ethan fell into a rare Cold War. Married for 10 years because Claire believed couples shouldn't hold grudges overnight, they had never gone more than a day without speaking. But now a week had passed. He hadn't come home, nor had he sent Claire a single message. But tomorrow was Lily's birthday. Picking her up from kindergarten, Lily asked Claire timidly, "Tomorrow is my birthday. Will Daddy come home?" Claire stroked her hair. "He will." Although Claire said that, she wasn't sure in her heart. In the evening, unable to bear her daughter's expectant gaze, Claire was just about to message Ethan when the door suddenly opened. "Daddy?" Lily ran over excitedly. Ethan appeared in the living room holding Lily with one arm. He was carrying a luxury brand bag and a cake. Putting Lily down, Ethan walked over and hugged Claire. "I'm sorry, I was too extreme that day. I went to the boutique to buy this bag myself. It's definitely real. Can you forgive me?" Facing her daughter's bright eyes, Claire could only play along for now. "Let's eat the cake first." "Not the cake yet." Ethan put the cake in the refrigerator. "It's not Lily's birthday today. Let's eat it at midnight, okay?" Lily nodded obediently, but she didn't let Ethan idle. She immediately pulled him to play with building blocks. Looking at the scene of fatherly love and filial piety in front of her, Claire couldn't help but wonder, how long has it been since Ethan played games with Lily? A jarring ringtone rang out. Ethan looked at the caller ID, appearing somewhat awkward. He quietly went into the bedroom and answered the phone. When he came out, he couldn't control the panicked look on his face. "The company, there's a meeting. I have to go," Claire said dissatisfiedly. "Since when do you have to go back for a meeting at midnight? Don't forget, it's Lily's birthday soon." Looking at his daughter's longing gaze, Ethan still bent down, stroked her hair, and said sorry to her. "I'll come back as soon as possible." Dropping this sentence, the door closed again. Lily's tears dripped onto the surface of the blocks. Her immature voice carried doubt. "Mommy, does Daddy not want us anymore?" Claire wiped her daughter's tears with a cotton tissue. "Lily, do you still want Daddy?" A notification popped up on the social media platform. The user Tiff, you recently viewed, has updated a post. "Late night surprise, my period came and my daddy boyfriend rushed over to take care of me." The accompanying picture was a view of a back busy in the kitchen and a cup of steaming ginger brown sugar tea. On the finger holding the cup was a familiar ring. The white background clearly showed the letter G engraved on it. The ring Claire had made for Ethan by hand was now worn on Tiffany's hand. She was even afraid Claire wouldn't see it, so she specifically shared this post to Claire via direct message. The ring was like her flag of victory, but love isn't a competition of who wins or loses. Before Lily was born, Claire and Ethan had been a harmonious couple. Ethan was the eldest son in his family and had been influenced by his mother since childhood, firmly believing he must carry on the family line. When Ethan discovered she had given birth to a daughter, he almost immediately asked the doctor when they could start preparing for another pregnancy. Upon learning that Claire could not conceive another life due to massive hemorrhaging, he gave her a deep, lingering look as she lay on the hospital bed. In the past, Claire didn't understand the meaning of that look. Now thinking back, after their daughter was born, he had become colder toward her. Although to outsiders they seemed as intimate as before, only she knew that Ethan had been silently distancing himself, starting physically. Claire comforted herself that this was a necessary path for middle-aged couples, but she didn't expect it was a signal of him unilaterally abandoning her. A message popped up on her phone. "Claire, come home quickly. Something happened to your dad." Seeing this message, Claire's head buzzed and exploded. Claire marrying Ethan meant marrying far away. More than 1,000 kilometers from home, her parents were afraid Claire would worry from afar, so they rarely told her about family matters, often reporting only the good news and hiding the bad. To have such an urgent message, it must be the worst-case scenario. Without thinking, Claire dialed Ethan's number. The ringtone in the receiver rang a few times, then stopped abruptly, replaced by the busy tone of a user on another call. When she called again, Ethan's phone was turned off. Stabilizing her emotions, Claire sent him a message. "My dad is sick, I have to go back. Lily needs to go to the hospital to have her teeth checked tomorrow. I need you to come back and take care of her for a few days." Claire waited anxiously for Ethan's reply. Finally, just as the sky was turning light, she got a response. "Okay." Getting the affirmative answer, Claire frantically booked the earliest flight and rushed to the airport. It was already snowing heavily in her hometown. Outside was a sheet of silver, and everyone's breath turned into white mist. It wasn't until she got outside the terminal that Claire realized the clothes she had grabbed were pitifully thin. Her phone regained signal, and a barrage of WhatsApp messages overwhelmed her eyes. She clicked on the latest voice message her mother sent, but could only hear heart-wrenching crying. Unwilling to believe the truth, she dragged her luggage into a taxi and headed toward the hospital. After connecting a few calls, Claire controlled her trembling lips. "Driver, don't go to the hospital. Please drive to the funeral home." A line of tears slid down her cheeks. The warm tears brushed over her cool skin. A gash was also torn open in Claire's heart, constantly oozing acid. Seeing her father, who looked like withered wood at the funeral home, Claire realized she owed this family too much. Her mother said through tears, "Your dad wouldn't let me tell you when he was diagnosed. He didn't want you to worry out there. He wanted you to protect your own home first. But before he left, he was constantly thinking of you, calling your name. It's my fault. I didn't expect your dad's condition to deteriorate so quickly." Claire held her father's already cold hand, tears falling onto his withered skin. She hadn't been able to see her father one last time, nor could she protect her own small family. She was already a failed daughter. She didn't want to be a terrible mother, too. Lily woke up only to find a strange woman in the house. Tiffany was wearing exquisite makeup and painting her nails. The mixture of perfume and smoke on her body made Lily cover her nose. Seeing Lily's action, Tiffany was displeased. She reached out and pulled Lily in front of her. "Little girl, what does covering your nose mean?" "I don't like the smell on you," Lily said, her voice muffled by her hand covering her nose. "Where is my mommy?" "Your mommy," Tiffany pretended to think for a moment, resting her head on her hand and speaking breezily. "She doesn't want you anymore." "You're lying," Lily looked at Tiffany angrily. "What do I have to lie to you for?" Tiffany reached out and pinched Lily's cheek. The wet nail polish left marks on Lily's face. "I'm your new mommy from now on." She looked down from above, mocking with an attitude of contempt. "Good girl, call me mommy." Lily pushed her hand away. She found her phone watch on the table. "I'm calling mommy right now, I'll tell her to kick you out." Just as Lily was about to dial Claire's number, Tiffany easily snatched the watch from Lily's hand and threw it into a glass of water. The watch face flickered a few times, then went dark. Lily took out the water-soaked watch and pressed it a few times, but there was no reaction. Her eyes instantly filled with a wet mist. "This is the birthday present mommy bought me, pay me back." "Me, pay you back." She took the broken watch, threw it heavily onto the floor, and stomped on it repeatedly. The watch screen shattered, and the internal parts were easily visible. Lily screamed and tried to rescue her watch from under Tiffany's foot. A glimmer of excitement flashed in Tiffany's eyes. She lifted her foot, and her high heel stomped ruthlessly onto Lily's fingers. The tender fingers instantly turned red. Lily tried to push away with her hand, but the high heel didn't budge. Tiffany even added more force, lifting her heel and shifting her weight to the ball of her foot. Hearing Lily's increasingly loud cries of pain, she laughed out loud. A slender calf was right in front of Lily's eyes. The pain left her no time to think. She opened her mouth and bit directly onto Tiffany. Because of the pain, Tiffany stumbled back a few steps. Lily's fingers were finally released from the prison of pain, but the continuous trampling had left her fingers deformed and swollen. She picked up the shattered watch on the ground, held it to her chest, and cried heart-wrenchingly. Tiffany checked the teeth marks on her calf. She strode forward, raised her hand, and slapped Lily across the face with full force. Lily was caught off guard. Her head hit the corner of the table, cutting the skin and drawing blood. "Damn brat, you're a disgusting thing just like your mother." Just as she was trying to kick Lily again, the door creaked open. Tiffany fell onto the carpet right in front of Ethan. Hearing the crash, Ethan rushed into the living room. Seeing the miserable state in front of him, he rushed to Tiffany's side. "Tiff, what happened to you?" Tiffany curled up in Ethan's arms, crying softly. "Lily kept crying for her mother when she woke up. I told her mommy went home, but she didn't believe me. She called me a bad person and bit me." Seemingly unintentionally, she lifted her foot to show the teeth marks on her calf. "I didn't." Hearing Tiffany's slander, Lily refuted weakly, but was glared at by Ethan. "Lily Wright, who taught you to lie like that, apologized to Auntie Wright now?" "I won't," Lily answered stubbornly. Because of the pain, her voice trembled at the end. "I didn't lie. Fine." Ethan picked Tiffany up. "Then you stay here and reflect until you apologize." The sound of the door closing came. Lily stared stubbornly at the watch, shattered into pieces on the floor. She fiddled with it, but couldn't stop herself from sobbing again in the darkness. "Mommy, where are you?" Lily hates Daddy. The cremation ended in the middle of the night. The urn was placed in the funeral home to be guarded by staff. Claire returned home with her mother. She was exhausted, tear stains still on her face. She told her mom to shower and rest while she sat on the sofa and dialed Ethan's number. "Claire, Dad is gone." After saying this sentence, Ethan fell into a rare silence for 10 seconds. Already cremated. The other side obviously breathed a sigh of relief. "Then I don't need to come over, right?" His tone of relief stung Claire's nerves, but she didn't have the energy to argue with him right now. "How is Lily?" "She is asleep, I suppose." The vague tone carried some guilt. Claire frowned tight. "Is Lily not with you?" Getting no reply, the phone was hung up. Before hanging up, Claire clearly heard a voice, sweet to the point of being cloying, calling out Ethan. After calling several times consecutively with no answer, her frustration and anxiety reached a peak. Suddenly thinking of something, Claire clicked on Tiffany's profile. She was live streaming. The title was "Fireworks Put On Specially for Me by My Daddy Boyfriend." Holding back her nausea, Claire clicked in. They were by the riverbank, kissing amidst clusters of fireworks. Under the flashing, colorful lights, two black silhouettes pressed tightly together as if no one else existed. The comments were full of blessings and envy. "If only I had a boyfriend like that." "I really envy Tiffany. I bet if they get married and pregnant later, her boyfriend will treat her, and the baby even better." The audience watched the happiness they displayed through the small screen. Unaware that the male protagonist of this happy scene had abandoned his own daughter to set off fireworks for his affair partner. Scanning both sides of the screen, Lily's figure was nowhere to be seen. A 5-year-old girl, where could she possibly go? "Mom," Claire called out. "Lily seems to be missing. I might have to go back." Mom came out of the bathroom just then. She asked strangely, "Where is Ethan? Shouldn't he be watching Lily?" "He is cheating." Ever since discovering Ethan's affair, Claire felt like a flood had been raging in her heart. But being far away with no relatives and considering her daughter, she had to make herself strong, so she used stones representing strength to block the flood. Now, after confessing to her mom, the dam broke, surging out from Claire's eyes. Mom came over and hugged Claire. When she was wronged as a child, Mom would pat her back just like this. "If it really comes to divorce, just come back. Mom misses you and Lily very much." Composing herself, Just as she was planning to rush back, there was a knock at the door. Opening the door, her childhood friend stood there. Julian Stone was dressed all in black, hair wet with sweat on his forehead, obviously having run over. He spoke slightly out of breath. "I heard Uncle passed away. I went to the funeral home and learned you had come home. This is a small token of my condolences." Seeing Claire's expression was wrong, Julian asked, "Are you going out? I have to go find my daughter. I might need your help to handle things here." Claire rushed out the door, but turned back to look at him. "You have a law firm, right? I remember you got famous fighting divorce cases." Julian nodded blankly. Claire asked, "Can you come back to City B with me? I want a divorce." On the plane, Ethan's phone still couldn't be reached. The smartwatch Claire bought for Lily also showed as turned off, unable to be tracked. Contacting the receptionist at the dental clinic, she discovered Lily hadn't gone for her checkup today at all. Seeing Claire anxious, Julian came over and patted her hand. "I've arranged for someone to help Mrs. Miller with your father's affairs. Lily will be fine, don't worry." Arriving home and opening the door, it was pitch black from the living room to the bedrooms. Claire turned on the light and found the living room in a mess. Throw pillows from the sofa were tossed randomly. The refrigerator door was open, contents rummaged out. There were bloodstains on the floor, trailing into the inner room. Lily, no answer. Claire rushed in, searching room by room, finally finding Lily in the bedroom. She was curled up in Claire's clothes, her face deathly pale. Hands and feet instantly going cold, Claire walked over with heavy steps, only to find a puddle of vomit next to her clothes. On the floor was a sprouted potato, half eaten. Lily was foaming at the mouth, eyes tightly closed, completely unaware of Claire's return. "Lily!" Claire reached out to touch her, but could only feel coldness. Julian followed behind Claire. Seeing this, he quickly dialed emergency services. Claire pulled Lily into her arms, trying to warm her with her own body heat. Seeing Claire panic, Julian came over after the call and checked Lily's pulse. Under her questioning gaze, Julian gave an affirmative answer. "There is a pulse." Before her suspended heart could drop, he continued, "But it's very weak." Sending Lily into the emergency room, Claire's hands couldn't stop trembling. Claire wanted to know almost immediately what Lily had gone through during the time she went home. She wanted to call Ethan, but saw a notification on her phone for a photo post from Tiffany. "I am the little girl he spoils the most in his heart." In the picture, luxury bags and jewelry were piled into a small mountain. Ethan showed his face on this account for the first time, reverently placing a glittering tiara on Tiffany. The pinned comment was also particularly conspicuous. "I got hurt by a dog yesterday. Today my boyfriend is using drones by the river to apologize to me. There's also a 1-hour drone show. Everyone is welcome to come watch." Claire felt as if an invisible hand was squeezing her heart tightly. It was so painful she couldn't breathe, tears rolling down her cheeks. Ethan Wright, Bravo their daughter, was practically losing vital signs after a day with him, and he had the mind to hold a drone show for his little mistress. Lily was his own flesh and blood, just as she was about to call to confront him. A nurse rushed out of the operating room. "Which one is Lily Wright's parent? We need you to sign a critical illness notice." Waiting anxiously outside the operating room for 3 hours, Ethan's phone remained off the entire time. Claire prayed silently to every god she knew, begging them to let her Lily survive the danger. It seemed the prayers were answered. Lily Wright is out of danger. She went into temporary shock due to dehydration, eating something she shouldn't have, and an allergic reaction. The doctor frowned. "How do you parents act like this? How could you leave such a small child alone at home? Also, her fingers have comminuted fractures. If you had come any later, the child's fingers might have become necrotic." Claire listened to the doctor's criticism, her heart twisting in pain, nodding repeatedly in admission of fault. Looking at Lily sleeping in the hospital room, she cried out. Seeing the bloodshot veins in Claire's eyes, the nurse suggested she go home to rest first, promising to notify her of anything. Claire took Julian back home. Ethan still hadn't returned the call. Claire drank a mouthful of water, trying to calm her angry emotions, when she heard the sound of the password lock unlocking outside. Ethan returned home carrying a bag of vegetables. Seeing Claire in the living room, a flash of guilt crossed his eyes. He pushed the wide-open door so it was just slightly ajar. "Claire, why are you back? Didn't you say you were going home for a week?" Before she could speak, Ethan saw Julian next to Claire. He raised an eyebrow, whistled, and leaned his body against the entryway cabinet. I wondered why you came back. What, you thought I wasn't coming home today, so you brought your affair partner home? Truly, dirty people think everyone else is as dirty as them. Claire looked straight at Ethan, not missing the flicker of secret joy in his eyes, as if he had finally caught something on her. Clearly, before they got married, she had taken him to meet all her friends and relatives back home, and Julian was naturally among them. Although she introduced them properly, Julian and Ethan didn't get along then. They had exchanged barbed words explicitly and implicitly, but Claire never thought that one day Ethan would pin a baseless relationship on them. What nonsense are you talking about? Claire glared at Ethan. I haven't even settled the score with you about Lily yet. If you want to settle the score, do it now. Ethan laughed. He smashed the vegetables in his hand onto the floor with a loud crash. The tomatoes inside scattered everywhere, juice splashing on the floor, shockingly red. Claire, you're stealing men outside and bringing them into our home. Was your dad dying also a lie you made up? Did you go back just to have a little parting makes the heart grow fonder moment with him? Smack. Ethan's face was slapped to the side by Claire. His skin was naturally pale, and Claire used her full strength. 5 finger marks slowly emerged on his face. Whether my dad is dead or not, why don't you go down there and see for yourself? Julian and I are open and above board. A straight spine doesn't fear a crooked shadow. We are absolutely not the kind of relationship you think. The one with the truly shameful relationship is probably not me, but someone else, right? Hearing Claire say this, his face panicked for a moment, but he quickly calmed down again. Claire, stop barking madly here. I haven't touched you in a long time, right? Is it that you couldn't hold back, so you desperately turned to anyone? The door creaked open, and a voice sweet as honey came from outside. Tiffany appeared at the doorway wearing black stockings, her long legs on full display. Ethan, why did you leave the door ajar? She walked in. Seeing Claire, there was no panic in her eyes. Instead, she shook the small box in her hand even more obviously. Is this one I bought okay, Ethan? Ultra thin? Tiffany's blatant attitude caught Ethan somewhat off guard, but he quickly reacted and glared at her. That look carried sharpness, extinguishing Tiffany's arrogant flame. She curled her lip, shoved the condoms into Claire's hand, and forced a smile. Mrs. Wright, I was just joking. Ethan said he knew you came back, so he specially asked me to buy these for you guys. See, just to make you happy, he even told me the brand and specific style. Just now Ethan had been aggressive, but now his temper softened too. Yes, I went to the supermarket to buy vegetables just now and forgot to buy this, so I asked Tiffany to help out. What boss asks a subordinate to help buy condoms? This absurd statement would make people laugh their heads off if repeated just as Claire was about to throw the condoms in her hand into Ethan's face. Julian stepped forward, blocking the space between Claire and Ethan. The sudden movement made Ethan frown. What are you? Why block my wife and me? Facing the language clearly filled with negative emotion, Julian didn't get angry. He took a business card from his inner pocket. My name is Julian Stone, Miss Miller's lawyer. I am now formally taking over the divorce proceedings between her and you. Hearing divorce, Ethan subconsciously looked toward Claire, expecting her to voice a denial, but Claire simply met his questioning gaze silently. Ethan's heart instantly turned into a mess. Divorce? Tiffany stepped forward, looking me up and down constantly. You want to divorce Ethan? There was uncontrollable laughter hidden in the tail of her voice. She even took Julian's card directly and stuffed it into Ethan's hand. Take it, Ethan. Take what? Ethan tore the card into pieces in his hand and threw them at Tiffany. Under her astonished gaze, he opened the door, slamming it against the outer wall with a huge bang. Get out, stop adding to the mess here. Ethan Wright, Tiffany yelled his full name rarely. Fine, I'll go, don't beg me later. She ran out of the room crying. Ethan rubbed the bridge of his nose and walked to Julian. Attorney Stone, please, I want to talk to my wife alone for a moment. After Claire nodded in confirmation, Julian left the room. Before leaving, he leaned into Claire's ear and instructed worriedly, if there are any problems, call me anytime. Claire sat on the sofa watching Ethan clumsily clean up the scattered tomatoes on the floor. After finally cleaning up, he sat next to Claire and whispered, I'm sorry. Ethan had done too many wrongs. With the sudden apology, Claire couldn't tell which specific thing he was feeling guilty about. I know you don't like Tiffany, but we are still colleagues. Except for official business, I won't meet her in private anymore. Claire, married for 10 years, I've never begged you like this, but can you forgive me this time? Yes, married for 10 years already. Claire couldn't help but recall every bit of their past. Once upon a time, she was the existence envied by friends and family. Ethan gave her a grand, perfect wedding. The lead car, the wedding dress, the banquet hall standards, everything was top tier. When Claire was still hesitating that a wedding didn't need to be so grand, Ethan didn't hesitate. My wife deserves the best specifications. The Ethan of the past loved Claire 100%. Give me a chance to make it up to you and Lily. You don't want Lily to become a child of a single-parent family, do you? Tears slid from the corners of his eyes, his voice trembling. Mentioning Lily, the image of that small figure on the ventilator in the hospital room appeared in Claire's mind. It's not up to me. Claire gritted her back teeth, trying to enunciate clearly. It depends on whether Lily forgives you. Ethan arrived at the hospital and saw the pale-faced Lily. It was as if all his strength had been drained. He knelt on the floor, slapping himself repeatedly in regret. It's all my fault, his face quickly swelled up. But the pain he inflicted on himself couldn't offset the harm Lily received in equal measure. After asking the nurse, who indicated family could enter, Claire left Ethan outside and entered the ward first. Mommy, seeing Claire, Lily's mood obviously improved a bit. Where did you go? Did you not want Lily anymore? Lily hadn't recovered yet and shouldn't get excited. Claire kept patting Lily's back to calm her down. Mommy went home to see Grandpa. I didn't abandon Lily. It's Mommy's fault. Mommy should have told Lily in advance. Can Lily forgive Mommy? Lily wiped her tears with her hand, speaking gently. I never blamed Mommy anyway. Seeing Ethan pacing back and forth by the window, Claire turned the topic back. Then does Lily blame Daddy? Daddy is right outside the door. Does Lily want to see him? Mentioning Daddy, Lily's little hand holding Claire's fingers tightened abruptly. Time passed in silence. Just as Claire decided to message Ethan to tell him to go back first, Lily spoke. I want to see him. As Ethan entered the ward, Lily gripped Claire's hand even tighter. She looked at Ethan warily. Ethan felt somewhat guilty under that gaze, but mostly remorseful. He sat next to Lily. Lily scooted a millimeter toward Claire. Lily, Daddy was wrong. Can you forgive Daddy? Because Daddy made a mistake, Mommy wants to separate from Daddy. Can Lily plead for Daddy? Lily lifted her small face to look at Claire. Not expecting Ethan to mention the divorce to Lily, Claire's expression looked a bit ugly. Then, can that auntie not appear anymore? She won't appear anymore. Getting Ethan's affirmative answer, Lily gently shook Claire's arm. Mommy, you told me when people make mistakes we should give them a chance to correct them. Let's give Daddy a chance. Since Lily said so, under Ethan's expectant gaze, Claire nodded slightly. Just this once, Ethan. Claire emphasized, don't fail us again. Absolutely not. Ethan planted a kiss on Claire's cheek. I swear. Ethan stayed in the ward with Lily. Claire went to the corridor and dialed Julian's number. The call connected quickly. Claire, did something happen? No. Claire looked at Lily, whose smile was slowly unfolding in the ward. The matter of me divorcing Ethan, pause it. The silence on the other end made Claire suspect she had accidentally hung up. Claire, are you sure? Julian's voice carried some fatigue. He put Lily in the ER. And the shady business between him and that colleague has obviously been going on for a long time. Are you really going to tolerate it? Julian, Claire's voice carried some anger. It's not just about me anymore. I have a child. He is Lily's father after all. And before my dad passed away, he hoped for my family's happiness. I want to take them back to mourn during this period. After a few seconds of pause, Claire heard Julian sigh slightly. All right then, how soon can Lily be discharged? I'll help you book the tickets. As your childhood friend, I will also attend Uncle's funeral. A week later, Lily was finally discharged. Claire's family and Julian arrived at the airport after a simple rest. The atmosphere on the way wasn't exactly relaxed. Lily had just recovered, but this morning Claire received a call that her mother, overwhelmed by grief, hadn't eaten on time and fainted at home. Fortunately, she was discovered in time and sent to the hospital. Although Mom repeatedly emphasized it was just low blood sugar, Claire's heart remained suspended in midair. They brought several suitcases to the airport this time. Besides the daily clothes for the three of them, there were supplements for Claire's mother. "We'll buy things for Dad near the cemetery. Let's not check this bag of daily necessities, we'll take it on the plane." Ethan arranged things methodically. This scene reminded Claire of the year they were preparing to get married. When she was preparing to take Ethan home, she was even more nervous than Ethan. But under his clear and logical arrangements, Claire slowly relaxed her tense nerves. It wasn't until they held hands on the plane and fine sweat seeped from Ethan's palms that Claire realized she wasn't the only one tense. 10 years passed, and Ethan's way of handling things remained consistent. Did that mean that 10 years later, the person Ethan chose would still be her? Claire looked at Ethan for too long, staring until he felt uncomfortable. Ethan pulled her into his arms. "Why do you keep staring at me?" Taking a deep breath, Claire burrowed into Ethan's jacket. The clothes inside no longer smelled of the strawberry cigarettes from before, replaced by the scent of the family-sized laundry detergent she always bought. "Nothing. Don't disappoint me, Ethan." Claire didn't hear his reply, but instead heard her daughter making shame sounds. Poking her head out of Ethan's jacket, Lily dragged her finger across her face. "Mommy is so big, but still acting spoiled with daddy shame on you. Uncle Julian is still here." Realizing her behavior was indeed somewhat inappropriate, Claire smiled apologetically at Julian. However, Julian frowned tightly as he looked at the terminal information. Claire, our flight seems to be delayed." Hearing this, Claire walked quickly to the display screen and abruptly saw her flight marked in red. No, not just her flight. All flights to City A were marked red. The staff explained, "Due to weather issues, we cannot take off temporarily. We can only wait." Hearing this, beans-sized tears shot straight out of Claire's eyes. The time for her father's burial was tonight. If they still couldn't take off by afternoon, she would truly miss the last glimpse of her father in this world, seeing her emotional agitation. The staff panicked too, hurriedly asking people nearby to comfort Claire. Julian looked at Ethan. He was completely unaware of what was happening here, just staring silently at his vibrating phone in a daze. "Ethan, right?" Julian couldn't help but shout a reminder. Ethan woke as if from a dream. He hurriedly shoved his phone into his pocket, came over to pull Claire into his arms, and whispered comfort to soothe her emotions. "When Dad passed away, I didn't see him one last time." Claire choked with sobs, leaning on Ethan's shoulder. "They say the day of the burial is the last time a person lingers in the world. If I still don't appear at the burial, Dad will definitely blame me." Taking the hot water Julian handed her, Claire's tears still fell like broken pearls. He won't," Ethan comforted Claire. "He is your dad. A father always loves his daughter the most." Lily held Claire's hand and said somewhat like a little adult, "Daddy, that's not necessarily true. Daddy loves Mommy the most, right?" Interrupted by Lily, Ethan smiled. He wrapped his hands around both Claire's and Lily's hands. "Yes, I will always love you to the most." Ding-dong, the notification sounded. Boarding news arrived. Calculating the flight time, they could make it just in time. Claire finally broke into a smile through her tears, holding Lily's hand to queue at the boarding gate. Perhaps because of the delay, there was heavy traffic at the boarding gate. Afraid Lily would get lost, she constantly kept an eye on Lily's position, but didn't notice that at the end of the line, Ethan had opened his phone again. "We haven't been back for so long. We can go see Uncle tomorrow and Great-Uncle the day after." Having passed through the turnstile, Claire spoke to Ethan but heard no response. Turning around, she saw him standing in place with brows furrowed tight. "Ethan?" Claire asked confusedly. Ethan looked up slightly. Claire noticed a mark on his lip where he had bitten it. He wanted to walk forward, but his hand uncontrollably tapped the screen. Claire saw Ethan's face change suddenly. His features seemed to freeze instantly, beads of sweat seeping from his forehead. His expression grave, he looked up at Claire, then turned and ran without hesitation. "Ethan, right?" Daddy, mother, and daughter shouted for him repeatedly, but Ethan showed no sign of turning back. Soon, he disappeared from their field of vision. Self-blame, regret, disappointment, three emotions swirled in Claire's heart, but her tears had almost run dry, leaving only constant whimpering. Lily's small face was covered in tear stains. After they took their seats, she asked Claire in a small voice, "Mommy, did Daddy abandon us?" "No," Claire denied. "We don't want him anymore." "Lily, promise Mommy, in relationships with people, never place yourself in a weak position." She brought some sense of release. Otherwise, sincerity will be trampled on again and again. Lily listened somewhat confusedly. Claire smiled. It's okay, Mommy will teach Lily slowly in the future. Julian, having stowed the luggage, sat next to Claire. This was originally the seat booked for Ethan. Attorney Stone, Claire found it hard to speak, about the divorce, can I still entrust you with it? Of course, Julian replied instantly. Will there be any changes this time? No more. Claire's eyes were firm. I absolutely must divorce him. Hearing such resolute words, the corners of Julian's mouth raised slightly. Since you've decided, I will definitely use everything I've learned in my legal career to help you. The plane landed. Claire took a scarf out of her small carry-on bag and wrapped it around Lily. Realizing her own scarf had been put in the checked luggage, she shrank her neck. Just as she was preparing to lead Lily to the baggage claim, Claire felt a layer of softness wrapped around her neck. She turned. Julian had wrapped a scarf around her. I just bought this. I felt it suited you. After speaking, holding Lily with one hand and the luggage with the other, he slowly walked toward the baggage claim. Mrs. Miller was already waiting early at the cemetery entrance. Seeing the three of them, Mrs. Miller looked behind them discreetly. Confirming Ethan hadn't come, she sighed and grasped Claire's hand tightly. Let's go. The process of burying her father wasn't complicated. Everyone present watched quietly. After the relatives came and went, Mrs. Miller pulled Claire aside. She spoke earnestly. You've been an adult for a long time. You can handle the propriety of many things yourself. But marriage is a family matter. It involves not just you and Ethan, but also Lily. It's best to ask for Lily's opinion. After talking with her mom, those words lingered in Claire's heart. In the evening, Lily was eating a roasted tangerine prepared by her grandma. The stove sizzled. Only Claire and Lily were in the living room. Pursing her lips, Claire spoke. Lily, if Daddy and Mommy separate, would you agree? Lily tore off a segment of tangerine and put it in her mouth, cheeks instantly puffing up. She spoke somewhat indistinctly. I agree. Daddy always makes you sad and left me alone at home. Then after separating, will you go with Daddy or Mommy? Lily's eyes widened. She quickly swallowed the tangerine in her mouth. With Mommy, of course. You will want me, right? The little person in front of her spoke confidently, but was unsure on the last few words. Claire placed another tangerine on the stove. Of course. As long as Lily chooses Mommy, Mommy will absolutely love Lily and protect Lily. Hearing the satisfactory answer, Lily grinned. After Lily fell asleep, Claire tiptoed outside and dialed Julian's number. After a few rings, Julian's slightly groggy voice came from the receiver. What's wrong, Claire? Remembering she had troubled Julian too much recently, Claire felt somewhat embarrassed. Nothing, sorry to disturb your sleep so late. The sound of glasses being unfolded and put on came through the receiver. Did something happen? Do you need me to come over? No, Claire hurriedly said. I just wanted to ask if you could produce a divorce agreement as soon as possible. Of course, I'll bring it to you tomorrow. After bidding good night, Claire hung up the phone. She wrapped her thick clothes around her and looked at the sky, dotted with stars. Tomorrow would surely be a sunny day. The next morning, Claire was woken up by noises outside. Looking at her daughter still sound asleep, she quietly went out, closing the bedroom door tight behind her. Mrs. Miller was on the balcony, hands on hips, shouting down at something. Claire felt puzzled. She poked her head out and saw Ethan. He was holding bags big and small, shouting up, Mom, open the door, Mrs. Miller said grumpily. You're calling me affectionately now. Why didn't you come yesterday to see your dad off on his final journey? I really had something to do yesterday. Ethan felt somewhat guilty, but he turned and saw Claire looking out. A flash of joy crossed his eyes. Claire talked to Mom, forgive me this time, let me in, splash. A large basin of water poured down from the sky. Ethan was soaked from head to toe. He wiped the water off his face. What do you mean by this? What do I mean? Mrs. Miller scoffed. It means closed to guests. With that, Mrs. Miller slammed the balcony window shut, leaving the soaked Ethan standing downstairs. However, by noon, Ethan still had no intention of leaving. A thick layer of snow had accumulated on him, stubbornly waiting for Claire to come down. The afternoon sun would rise soon, and the neighbors would come out to sunbathe. Not wanting complications, Claire went downstairs. Seeing Claire appear at the building entrance, Ethan's eyes instantly lit up. He wanted to take Claire's hand, but was afraid his frozen hands were too cold. "You brought clothes, right?" Hearing the question, Ethan nodded. "Find a hotel and change your clothes. Meet me at that coffee shop nearby at 2 o'clock. Ethan arrived at the coffee shop half an hour early. When he saw Claire inside, the stone in his heart dropped. At least she was willing to see him. He broke into a smile, unaware that right now, Claire had nothing but thoughts of divorce in her mind. "You stood downstairs for so long. What exactly did you want to say?" Claire put the coffee Ethan brought aside and asked with a frown. "Claire, I know you're still angry, but the situation that day was truly urgent. Before boarding the plane, I received a photo from her friend. She drank until she got a stomach perforation and was hospitalized. You don't know, she's practically skin and bones these days. Her wrist is as thin as a coin now." Listening to his incessant rambling, Claire suddenly regretted agreeing to come to the coffee shop to talk. Was she here to listen to how difficult things were for Tiffany? Impatiently, Claire interrupted Ethan. "Why do I need to know? Did you run all this way just to tell me this?" Ethan's eyes turned slightly cold. "Claire, are you really such a person with no compassion? Don't you know Tiffany's parents ignored her since childhood? She has always lived a hard life hard. How did this man have the nerve to mention the word hard in front of her? I ask you," Claire took a deep breath, "what were you doing in October the year before last?" Ethan frowned, seeming to think seriously about Claire's question. "Why do you ask this? That was so long ago, do you even remember?" "I remember." Tears slid down Claire's face. "That day, Lily had a fever of 104 degrees. I called you, but you told me you were on a business trip. When I took Lily to the hospital, she was already near a coma. I was running around the hospital, registering, paying fees, and taking care of Lily. It wasn't until the nurse touched my skin that she realized I also had a fever. She took my temperature, 100 degrees. The nurse asked if the child's father could come over to help. I couldn't help crying in the hospital. Ethan." Called by name, he looked up at Claire somewhat helplessly. Tears hung on the woman's face, her lips trembling. "Wasn't I having a hard time?" "Hard. Of course you had it hard." Realizing he said the wrong thing, he hurriedly tried to make up for it. "But wasn't I on a business trip too? I was also striving for our family's future." "Were you really on a business trip?" Claire asked in a low voice. Meeting Ethan's gaze, she shook her head slightly. "Do I need to tell you what you were doing at that time?" She took out her phone, pulled up the screenshot from Tiffany's social media profile from earlier, easily found the post from that time period, and handed it to Ethan. "I asked my boss out. Sisters, give me some tips." In the picture, Ethan's face was blurred, but anyone familiar could recognize him at a glance. He was holding a wine glass, sitting with Tiffany in a chic lounge bar, a half-eaten dessert by his hand. "Ethan, at that time you were cheating." "No, it's not what you think. I didn't know she took photos at that time," Ethan argued palely. "And I never knew she started an account like this. This isn't about one photo or one account." Claire smiled bitterly. "It's that your heart was taken away. On my birthday this year, do you remember where we went?" Ethan hurriedly said. "I remember. Every year for your birthday we spend it together. This year we went to that newly opened shopping center in the city center." After recalling carefully, he added affirmatively, "I stayed by your side the entire day. You took me to eat a cake." Following Claire's words, Ethan seemed to return to that day too, looking happy. "I remember that cake was especially delicious." "It was indeed delicious. That was the cake shop Tiffany recommended to you." Ethan's smile froze on his face. He wanted to refute, but saw Claire hand him another screenshot. "My boss took me to eat at the cake shop I recommended, super delicious. I wondered how you knew which one was good and which was bad the first time you went." Claire took back her phone. "Turns out you had already eaten there with someone else. We've been married 10 years, Ethan. I never thought our marriage could accommodate a third person. For 10 years, I managed the household, and you never said I had it hard. But now you run downstairs to my house, claiming you want to explain. Yet every word is about how hard Tiffany has it. When you were eating cake together, when you booked an entire drone show to cheer her up, did you ever think for a second that I was still laboring for this family?" Claire, as her words became more agitated, Ethan interrupted her as if he couldn't bear it anymore. "Tiffany and I are just simple superior and subordinate. Being good to Tiffany is just because as a superior, I care a bit more about my subordinate." Just how suspicious do you have to be? Do you want me to quit and stay home all the time? Don't forget when you were fired, I was the one who filled the financial hole. Saying this shows you don't trust my character. It chills my heart, Ethan paused, as if exasperated. He drank a mouthful of coffee and continued angrily. It's fine if you talk about me, but you're talking about Tiffany. Don't you know she could sue you for slander? Claire looked at Ethan, who was flying into a rage out of humiliation in front of her, regretting why she had agreed to listen to his explanation. Whenever Tiffany was mentioned, he seemed like a different person. The Ethan who stood in the cold wind and snow this morning waiting foolishly for her to come down seemed to be burned away by a fire, leaving only the Ethan whose heart and mind were full of Tiffany. Claire covered her face with her hands. After the quarrel just now, her hands had dropped to freezing point again, along with her heart. The cold on her hands made her gradually calm down. Claire looked at Ethan and sighed a breathy sound. I don't want to argue with you anymore, Ethan. Your explanations are just irrelevant nonsense to me. Let's divorce. Let me go. Tiffany, I'm telling you, I won't divorce. Ethan leaned back, a contemptuous smile raising the corner of his mouth. Divorce isn't something you decide alone, it requires signatures from two people. As long as I don't want a divorce, you will always be my wife. How about this? You come back with me now, tell Mom you aren't divorcing, and I'll forgive what you just said about Tiffany. Who needs your forgiveness? Claire sneered. I will not only say these words to your face, but I will also repeat them in front of her. She raised her eyes, full of determination. Anyway, the one guilty of doing wrong isn't me. Doing wrong, how many times are you going to repeat that phrase? Ethan scratched his head irritably. I was wrong, okay? Isn't that what you wanted to hear? I'm tired of it too. You don't want to say it anymore either. Can we just let this pass? Ethan, why haven't you understood yet? It was the first time Claire felt Ethan couldn't understand human language. He treated her repeated emphasis on divorce as usual petty emotions, thinking he could brush it off by coaxing her with a few nice words. I want a divorce. I am speaking to you seriously about this matter. I apologize too. Can you stop being dramatic? Ethan looked at Claire. Even if what you say about wanting a divorce is true, let me ask you, you have no job right now. How will you establish yourself over there? You know how large our daily expenses are. Even if you look for a job, with your resume having a 1.5-year gap, how many companies will hire you with good conditions? Do you think after I divorce, I will still stay in City B? Claire had already thought about the things Ethan mentioned. Probably because she had been a housewife by his side for too long, Ethan forgot that Claire was also a talent who graduated from a prestigious university. If not for Lily's health issues, she would be shining in the workplace right now, not trapped in a small kitchen. Do you think I really like living in your hometown? Claire's sudden sentence stumped Ethan. Since deciding to get married, Claire had decided to come to City B, never mentioning any discomfort or unaccustomed aspects in front of Ethan. He never thought Claire would leave City B. I left my home and came to your city alone. It took all my courage. I thought you could be worthy of my all-in gamble. And the result? Claire raised her eyebrows at Ethan. When I first came to City B, I didn't have a single friend. All relationships around me revolved around you. Finally, I had my own job and my own social circle, but I was fired because of frequent leaves for Lily's health. You can't understand how desperate I was then. Lily was sick. I wanted your help, but you could never get away. I asked your mother for help, but she despised Lily for being a girl. She even said to me, just a girl, if she can't be cured and dies, it's just right to have a boy. This is our own daughter, Ethan. What has this city left me? Only endless pain. She spoke sincerely, her brow revealing hidden sadness and grief. Not until this moment did Ethan realize that in 10 years, he knew too little about Claire. He wanted to hug Claire, but felt he had no right, so he could only stare at his fingers in a daze. Claire followed his gaze to his empty fingers. Ethan, let me ask you, where's your ring? Ring? Ethan's body went stiff. Last time he met Tiffany, she said she wanted to wear his ring, so Ethan handed it to her casually, but forgot to take it back. Ring? Seeing he couldn't speak for a long time, Claire smiled. It was the first time Ethan realized a smile could be so helpless. She held out her hand. Claire's fingers were slender and long. In college, a senior had even asked if she was a hand model. But now, a scar appeared out of nowhere at the base of her index finger, conspicuously obvious on her artwork-like hand. This is the scar left by a mistake I made when making the ring. Claire rubbed the raised scar tissue, speaking breezily. Just because you said intention is what matters most, I ran to the workshop and spent an afternoon making that ring. But I didn't expect you could give it away so casually. Intention is very important, Ethan. Seeing Ethan staring at the scar on her hand, Claire pulled her hand back. But I gave it to the wrong person. You don't deserve my sincerity. Ethan looked at Claire in panic. In the past, whenever he made eye contact with Claire, he could always feel eyes full of love. But now, Claire's eyes held only distance and weariness toward him. Don't, Claire. Ethan looked at her frantically. We can start over. I was truly wrong before, please forgive me. I gave you a chance once. Did you forget? After Claire spoke, Ethan remembered the chance he had personally destroyed last time. In the marriage, Claire gave Ethan too much love. Because the love was too much and too full, Ethan forgot that a person's indulgence has limits. Heart feeling like a piece had been dug out, Ethan had to gasp for air to calm his emotions. Claire. Before Ethan could finish speaking, he was interrupted. Looking up, he saw Julian standing by the table, smiling politely. Julian sat down next to Claire. I went to your house. Auntie said you were here, so I came over. He took out the prepared documents from his bag. This is the divorce agreement, 2 copies. Are you two ready to sign now? Divorce agreement? Ethan picked up the stapled papers on the table, reading each clause carefully. The more he read, the tighter his brow furrowed. Finally, he exclaimed directly, I leave with nothing. Julian nodded with great professionalism. We have obtained sufficient evidence of your infidelity. If you do not agree to the terms of the divorce agreement, we will take legal measures. Ethan looked at the agreement in his hand, then at the 2 people sitting side by side across from him. He sneered, raising his hand and tearing the agreement into pieces. You guys had this divorce agreement ready long ago, just waiting for me to come so you could scheme against me, right? Claire, what face do you have to say I cheated? Ethan prepared to throw the shreds of the agreement into her face, but Julian controlled his wrist a step ahead. Huge pain struck, causing Ethan to let go. The shreds scattered on the table. He struggled to throw Julian off. You pair of adulterers, this was premeditated, wasn't it? You must have been secretly hooking up since we got married. You formulated this whole plan. Wait for me to come, then say a bunch of stuff to make me feel guilty, and finally want me to leave with nothing. You're just after my money, Ethan cursed nastily, but Claire knew he was just counter-biting. She took a bound booklet of screenshots from her bag and threw it in front of Ethan. The stuff in here, some Tiffany sent to me herself, some are from her public profile, but every single one is ironclad evidence of your cheating. Ethan flipped through the booklet in front of him in disbelief. Inside, the evidence from when he and Tiffany met to falling in love was ordered chronologically. 2022.6, my boss has way too much sexual tension. Sisters, how do I pursue him? The accompanying picture was a sneak shot of Ethan's back, but clearly captured the ring on his ring finger. In the evidence, someone in the comments warned, Sister, be careful. I see your boss has a ring on his ring finger. Does he have a family? Tiffany posted a smiling emoji. If he has a family, isn't that even more exciting? 2022.11, business dinner with boss, he drank too much. In the video screenshot, Ethan fell into Tiffany's arms. Even though the head wasn't shot, he could be identified by the mole on his hand and his voice. His speech wasn't very clear, clumsily speaking love words to Tiffany, which she turned into subtitles in the video. 2023. One first spring festival spent with boss. Although we aren't together, he bought me a huge bouquet of flowers. In the chat log, Ethan patiently comforted Tiffany. Although I'm not by your side, my heart is with you. I will always love you. In the blurry mosaic, Ethan's name was faintly visible. 2023.8, documenting the first birthday spent as a couple. By then, Ethan was already wearing the ring I made by hand, but Tiffany thought it was some mass-market ring style and photographed it without taboo. Reading this, fine sweat was already seeping from Ethan's palms. Seeing Ethan stunned, Claire asked, Well, these are all things you've done, right? Then you say Julian and I have an affair, that we are adulterers. Do you also have a booklet like this, bound with evidence of us cheating? Sipping the coffee by her hand, the spoon clinking against the cup rim with a crisp sound, Claire cleared her throat. If there is no evidence, aren't you rumoring and slandering us? Julian is a young man who isn't married yet. Being spoken about like this, his reputation will be unclear. Ethan ground the paper hard with his hand. In his grip, the paper twisted and shattered, but the contents clearly presented the fact of his cheating, unable to be denied in the slightest. Speak, Ethan. Claire raised an eyebrow at him. Where is your evidence? The scene fell into a weird silence. Time passed second by second. The stillness was broken by Claire's ringtone. The caller location wasn't familiar to her, and she hadn't saved this number in her contacts. It only showed a string of digits. She answered the phone. Hello, is this Claire Miller? Yes, it is. What can I do for you? Mistress, your dad died because you cursed him, a perfectly good girl doing nothing good, insisting on intruding in other people's relationships. Careful you don't get hit by a car when you go out. The other side unleashed a torrent of righteous insults. Before Claire could react, she hung up. All that remained was the busy tone beeping. Seeing her mood was off, Julian asked in a low voice, "Who called?" Before Claire could answer, another call came in. Different location from the last one, but also no name saved. A bad thought flashed in Claire's mind. After connecting, she pressed speaker. Unlike the last call's style, in this call, the girl on the other end directly unleashed a torrent of abuse full of profanities, venting her anger by insulting Claire and her family without any technique. Julian reacted instantly, starting video and audio recording on his own phone. Before the call ended, calls came in one after another. In just 10 minutes, Claire's phone had received 50 calls from different people. Without exception, as soon as she answered, it was abuse. They even started sending text messages when they couldn't get through. Some bloody pictures and cursed messages were sent to her inbox. The sudden situation caught all three people off guard. Finally, Claire reacted. She set all unknown numbers to the block list, then opened Tiffany's social media page. Sure enough, there was a new video on Tiffany's page. Her eyes red and swollen, she cried to the camera. Many people ask why I haven't updated recently. Indeed, there have been some issues in my relationship with Ethan. Originally, Ethan and I had a stable relationship. We were a happy and perfect couple. But the appearance of a woman caused a huge change in our feelings. Tiffany used clever speaking techniques to make viewers think Claire was the third party intruding on their relationship. In her video, Claire's social media handle and phone number appeared. Interestingly, she heavily censored Claire's social media name. But for the phone number, she censored the last 4 digits in the first half of the video and the first 4 digits in the second half. Someone in the comments reconstructed Claire's phone number. Not only did Tiffany not delete it, she liked it and pinned the comment to the top. Uninformed, enthusiastic netizens supported Tiffany underneath. Tiffany, don't be sad. We'll help you, sisters. I just called that bitch. I scolded her until she didn't dare say a word. Really? Seems she knows she's in the wrong. I'm going to call too. Guys, she's not answering calls now, but we can still send texts. Claire looked at these comments with a pale face. Julian reminded me to take screenshots to save evidence at any time. I also downloaded Tiffany's video. Only Ethan couldn't believe it. He stared wide-eyed at all this. Tiffany did these things? Then he shook his head himself. Impossible. Tiffany is usually just a bit squeamish and loves to throw tantrums. How could she do something like this? Her nature isn't bad. Even now, Ethan was defending Tiffany. Claire threw the phone directly in front of Ethan. Look at what your Tiffany has done. As the video played, his face became uglier and uglier. Picking up his phone, Ethan dialed Tiffany's number. Ethan, you finally bothered to call me, almost instantly picked up. The girl's joyous voice came from the receiver. Tiffany, what the hell are you doing on social media? What? Tiffany's voice was filled with grievance. You haven't called me for so long, and now you called just to question me. Tiffany, I'm telling you seriously, hurry up and delete that video. I won't. Why should I delete it? She screamed hoarsely. You obviously stopped loving her long ago. She should divorce you. Ethan glanced at Claire. She had turned off her phone and was concentrating on enjoying her coffee. Tiffany, our relationship was just a mistake. He lowered his voice. You're asking for trouble doing this now. Asking for trouble? You're clearly abandoning me after using me. Ethan, right, saying anything now is useless. I want you to divorce and marry me, the piercing voice transmitted into Claire's ears. In a public place, even if he was on the phone, he should at least lower the volume. She frowned, looking sharply at Ethan. Ethan felt guilty under her gaze. I won't marry you. You were just a substitute for my emptiness. I can't leave Claire. Ethan Wright Tiffany shouted his full name. Have you been brainwashed by that woman? Pressing the hang-up button, Ethan sighed. Looking at the agreement and evidence on the table, deep regret flashed in his eyes. Do we really have to divorce? Claire, our daughter is still young. She can't be without a father. I miss Lily very much too. Can you bring her here so I can see her? He requested. Do you deserve to? Claire looked at the person in front of her. She no longer knew which of Ethan's words were true and which were false. Once I thought you sincerely loved and protected our daughter, but you left her alone in a room, nearly letting her die of shock. Once I thought you would settle down for our daughter, but the result? You left me and our daughter at the airport and ran back to see Tiffany yourself. I won't let you see our daughter. Don't forget she always has my blood in her. I will always be her biological father. Ethan was enraged by this statement. And we aren't divorced yet. What right do you have to stop me from seeing her? Claire wanted to argue, but Julian touched her hand quietly under the table. She knew Ethan was right now. If he wanted to see Lily, Claire indeed had no right to block him. You wanting to see Lily is your business. Claire changed her phrasing, but if Lily doesn't want to see you, I can't force her to come. Impossible, Ethan said confidently. She is my daughter. The first word she learned to say was Daddy. How could she not want to see me? Fine, Claire nodded. She picked up her bag. I'll call you when I go upstairs. If our daughter wants to see you, I can't fake it. You listened to her answer yourself. The coffee shop wasn't far from Claire's home. Walking downstairs, Ethan waited below. Just as Julian and Claire prepared to go upstairs, he reached out and blocked Julian. Why are you going up? Julian impatiently blocked Ethan's hand, suspended in midair. Our families are old friends. Can't I go to my childhood friend's house to see Auntie? With that, he put his hands in his pockets and followed Claire upstairs. At the door, Claire turned on her phone. The system reminded her again that it had blocked hundreds of calls. Pretending not to see, she dialed the call with Ethan. The door opened, and Lily's tender voice came out. Mommy, Ethan heard his daughter's voice, and his heart softened a section. Lily, Claire squatted down holding Lily, letting the receiver pick up sound more clearly. Lily, Mommy asks you, if Daddy comes and wants to see Lily, will Lily see him? Hearing Ethan was coming, Lily's small face immediately scrunched into a ball. She whimpered twice, then cried out. I don't want Daddy, I hate him. Hearing his daughter express her dislike for him so bluntly, Ethan lowered his phone in dismay. He hung up, recalling his actions, calculating exactly which step he took wrong to make his daughter hate him so much. The phone rang again. Ethan thought his daughter had changed her mind. A light flashed in his eyes. He picked up the phone, only to find the caller ID was Tiffany. He answered, What else do you want? Ethan, do you really not want me anymore? What, real or fake? Can the issue with you be put aside for now? I am really getting divorced now. For the first time, Ethan felt Tiffany was so annoying. Her past merits all turned to nothing in this moment. Can you stop fucking annoying me? He shouted and hung up the phone. Being hung up on, Tiffany threw her phone in a rage. She screamed at home, but suddenly realized something. Ethan just said he was going to divorce Claire. Did that mean she could take the position? Picking up the phone on the ground, although the screen was smashed in one spot, it was still usable. She sent a message to a list. The plan I just told you about, put it on hold for now. On the other side, seeing Ethan hang up, Claire already had a conclusion in her heart. She called Julian, who was talking to her mother, to her side. You play with Lily for a while. I'm going down to say a few words to him. Julian frowned worriedly. Do you need me to accompany you? No, Claire patted his shoulder. He and I were married for so many years after all. I know his personality. She walked downstairs and saw Ethan hanging up the phone irritably. Seeing Claire arrive, Ethan was somewhat awkward, but Claire had no reaction. You heard it. It's not that I won't let her see you, it's that Lily doesn't want to see you. We've been married so long, let's divorce with some dignity. There's no need to tear each other apart in court. She handed Ethan the divorce agreement, still the one where Ethan leaves with nothing. Sign it. As his name landed on the agreement, Ethan felt the reality of his marriage ending for the first time. Regardless of being outside or being seen, he shed tears just like that. Claire picked up the agreement preparing to go home, but was held back by the hand by Ethan. In the future, if I still want to see you. Sensing it was inappropriate, he changed his words. Want to see Lily? Will you still let me see her? Looking at the hand on her wrist forcing a pull, Claire felt uncomfortable. Lily is still your child after all. I will work on her psychologically. When she is willing to see you, I will naturally contact you. The shackles on her hand disappeared. Ethan's hands hung at his sides, swinging weakly twice. I understand. The next day, the notarization of property preservation for the divorce required both spouses to be present. Looking at the details of assets in the preservation document, just as Ethan was about to sign, his vision suddenly focused on a line of text. He looked up in surprise and asked Claire, "Genesis, you guys are still running it?" Genesis was the first enterprise Ethan started from scratch, but due to lack of experience at the time, it stagnated. Although he liked it very much, he had to let go helplessly. Just as he intended to cancel the company, Claire saw his pain and actively proposed to take on the legal person role of the company. If there were any problems, she would take responsibility. Let her try to run it, and if it still didn't work, then cancel it. 9 years passed. Ethan had long forgotten this company to the heavens, but he didn't expect Claire to preserve it. Seeing you valued it so much back then, I didn't want you to be sad, so I appointed someone to help. In the beginning, the losses were indeed terrible. I used my own performance bonuses to fill the family's economic gap so you wouldn't find out. Now the revenue is okay. I plan to tell you after Father's funeral. Claire didn't need to say the rest. Ethan understood himself. He suddenly regretted his signature on the agreement, suddenly realized what a good woman he had missed. Claire, only after calling out did Ethan realize what he was doing. Facing Claire's inquiring gaze, he swallowed as if making a determination. If I am willing to move to your hometown here, can we try again? Ethan, right. Hearing Claire call his name, Ethan answered hurriedly. Calls like this were becoming fewer and fewer. Still immersed in the happiness of being named, the next second he heard Claire ask, "Have you lost your mind?" Unexpectedly hearing such a sentence next, he was somewhat sluggish. Claire sighed and handed in the preservation document. She faced Ethan. "Why do you want to move here? This is your life." "Don't say it's for me. Neither of us should change the trajectory of our lives for anyone." It took me 10 years to understand this principle. Seeing Ethan unable to speak the next sentence for a long time, she smiled too. "I actually took what you said seriously. Anyway, you couldn't possibly come. You are a mama's boy." Never expecting the term mama's boy to be pinned on his head, Ethan was somewhat agitated. "How am I a mama's boy? Before you even realized it, you were subconsciously doing things following Auntie's thinking." Since they divorced, Claire changed the address too. "When I first gave birth to Lily, you asked the doctor how long until we could prepare for pregnancy again. You are just like your mom, despising Lily for being a girl." Not expecting this matter to be buried in Claire's heart for so long, Ethan explained, "You really misunderstood me, Claire. Did I not know you had a massive hemorrhage? I was right outside the delivery room. I signed the papers. It's just that my mom hadn't arrived yet. She didn't know the situation was so critical and would definitely force me to have a second child. Old people only listen to doctors, so I deliberately asked that in front of my mom. I really didn't expect you to mind this matter for so long." He finished what he wanted to explain in one breath, but didn't notice Claire's face getting darker and darker. "Back then, you told me your mom arrived just as I was wheeled into the delivery room. Why do you say now she wasn't there when signing?" "Ethan, was our marriage a lie?" He wanted to explain more, but was interrupted directly by Claire. "No need to say any more. It's not important." The agreement was submitted, and the divorce formally took effect. Divorce certificates were issued to both hands. Claire held the divorce certificate carefully, while Ethan put the divorce certificate directly into his pocket, unwilling to look again. If marriage is a cage, Ethan used to be the one holding the key. He used the key to lock Claire and Lily, controlling them in a prison of lies and love. But now Claire and Lily escaped from the cage, and Ethan discovered the one trapped had always been him. A happy marriage, a virtuous wife, a cute daughter. Those stabilities he once scoffed at now became as distant as floating clouds on the horizon. Walking out of City Hall, Ethan walked behind Claire the whole time. He had never looked at Claire's back so carefully for a moment. She seemed to have lost weight, her steps seemed lighter, seemingly more unconstrained. She was a free bird again. Claire stopped and looked back at Ethan. "When are you leaving?" "Not sure." Ethan's eyes dodged a bit. "Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week." "Tell me when you leave. If Lily is willing, she and I will see you off together." The car drove to the entrance of City Hall. Julian honked the horn in the driver's seat. Claire understood. She got in the car and rolled down the window. "Ethan, one more thing." Claire shook her phone. "Tell your little girlfriend and her fans to stop harassing me. Julian and I have already collected evidence. You don't want her to go to jail, do you?" Ethan responded with a sound. The car started and quickly disappeared from his vision. He sent a message to Tiffany. "I'm divorced. I have no relationship with Claire anymore. Don't let people harass her." Turning off the phone, Ethan suddenly wanted to smoke a cigarette. The phone vibrated, but he didn't want to look, just staring blankly in the direction Claire disappeared. He seemed to have lost a very important person. Returning home, the frequency of strange messages and calls on Claire's phone noticeably decreased. She also received a message from Ethan. "I booked a flight for 9 a.m. tomorrow." Looking at her daughter, obediently eating porridge with a spoon next to her, Claire put a piece of meat in her bowl. "Daddy is leaving here to go home tomorrow." Lily's hand paused, giving a soft MHM. "Does Lily want to go see Daddy off?" After struggling for a long time, Lily bit her lower lip tight. "Will Mommy go with me?" "Of course. Then will I leave with Daddy?" After experiencing the previous events, Lily was often insecure and accompanied by severe separation anxiety. She couldn't leave Claire for too long. "No," Claire affirmed. "As long as Lily wants to stay by Mommy's side, Mommy will absolutely not let Lily leave." She took another sip of porridge, making a sound as quiet as a mosquito. "Then let's go see Daddy off." Airport. Ethan waited anxiously for Claire. When he saw Claire appear with a small figure, Ethan almost immediately rushed in front of them. His urgency scared Lily. Lily hid a step behind Claire. For the 9 a.m. flight, they arrived at 8:15. Unable to exchange many pleasantries, Ethan had to go in to prepare for boarding. But he was very satisfied. At least he saw Lily and saw Claire. Getting off the plane, a huge emptiness suddenly swept over him. Usually, when he returned home, what should greet him were prepared meals, his daughter inviting him to play games, and a virtuous, considerate wife. But now, likely only an empty room. Even this house would soon not belong to him anymore. Claire gave him 3 months to find another place. For someone used to living in their own home, starting to rent again was such a difficulty. He was just thinking about these things when he suddenly heard a familiar voice. "Ethan," Tiffany popped out from somewhere in the airport unknown. Her arms circled straight around Ethan. "Why are you only back now? I missed you to death." Ethan had never felt the smell of smoke and perfume on a girl was so pungent. He pushed Tiffany away with his hand. "How did you know I was coming back at this time?" Tiffany twisted the ends of her hair and blinked at him. "I have my ways, of course." In the past, he loved this quirky appearance of Tiffany the most, but now he just felt the twisting and turning was annoying. "I'm tired, I'm going back. Play by yourself." Dropping this sentence, Ethan dragged his suitcase and strode long steps trying to shake off Tiffany, but unexpectedly she followed right to his door. Tiffany sat familiarly on the sofa. She pointed out, "I've wanted to change this living room for a long time. It must be her idea, so tacky." "Ethan, let's open up this partition later and change the paint. What do you think?" Ethan's gaze focused on the table. Every snack was fitted with a ceiling clip, placed properly in the basket. The small hair clips and hair ties Lily used to comb her hair were also sorted by color in her exclusive jewelry box. Even the tie clip he usually placed casually was neatly stored in a small box. The small things at home were all managed by Claire. He never worried about them. Only after losing her did he discover that Claire had always done no less than him at home. Ethan seemed to see his own things slowly becoming transparent in this room. He didn't want to become transparent. He didn't want to lose Claire. Tiffany was still rambling on. She stood up to plan the overall layout of the room, as if determined to renovate the entire home. Slapping the door frame, she noticed Ethan wasn't listening to her at all. Somewhat dissatisfied, she added force and banged twice more. "Ethan Wright, are you listening seriously? I said after we get married, let's knock these 2 bedrooms together into a big game zone. Ethan came back to his senses. Tiffany was staring at him unhappily. He glanced at Tiffany and said lightly, "None of what you said will happen. I won't marry you, and you won't have the right to change the layout of this room." Before Tiffany could get angry, he added another sentence. "I've left with nothing. Next, I plan to move to Claire's hometown." Tiffany laughed. "You're joking with me, Ethan. You finally got rid of that old woman. How could you want to go back? You have your family and your job in the city. You love yourself the most. Would you move to her place? Left with nothing? Who believes that?" Tiffany's sneering attitude annoyed Ethan. In front of Tiffany, he dialed his boss's number. "Mr. Sue, for personal reasons, I need to resign." Although the boss tried to persuade him, Ethan's mind was made up. After hanging up, he immediately bought the earliest ticket back to Claire's hometown. Under Tiffany's dumbfounded gaze, Ethan said stubbornly, "We are over. I'm going to win Claire back." When Ethan appeared in front of Claire again, Claire thought her eyes were playing tricks on her. Her daughter was eating candied hawthorn. Her hair got stuck in the sugar, and she was crying and fussing for Claire to help untangle it. Seeing the situation, Ethan hurried forward. He used the hot water he carried with him to slowly melt the sugar, carefully wiping Lily's hair clean. After Lily realized it was Ethan wiping her hair, she shivered subconsciously, ignoring her still dripping hair, and hid behind Claire. Seeing his daughter's wary gaze toward him, Ethan realized how deeply he had hurt Lily before. Claire protected Lily behind her. "Why are you back again?" "I resigned." Ethan's eyes were firm. "I will stay here until you accept me again." After meeting Ethan, Claire saw a bouquet of flowers at her door every day. Sometimes there would be a card on it, handwriting obviously written by Ethan himself. Over time, Claire got used to various things being left at the door. But today, she saw a black box at the door. Subconsciously, Claire thought it was something sent by Ethan again. Opening it without defense, the spray device inside released red fake blood plasma, soaking her all over. The plasma dripped down her face. Claire felt a person suddenly rush out in front of her. The sensation of foreign matter in her eyes already made her uncomfortable, and the person in front kept flashing a camera light at her eyes. "Tiffany was right, you slut really live here. No need to tell you this," the visitor said grumpily. "I'm just enforcing justice for having a perfectly good girl doing nothing good. Insisting on ruining other people's relationships should be splashed with dog blood." Hearing the hissing sound of spray paint cans, the woman started spraying something on the wall. Opening her eyes a crack, she realized the woman had sprayed the words "dog woman" on the door. They were too loud in the corridor. Mrs. Miller heard the noise and thought Claire didn't bring keys. She opened the door, saw her daughter covered in red and a figure fleeing with face covered, and screamed in fright. When Claire came out after washing up, she saw Julian sitting in the living room playing with Lily. She knew how scared Lily was when she saw her come in. Having experienced the incident where Ethan left her alone at home, Lily now had a natural fear of blood red, accompanied by severe separation anxiety. She couldn't leave Lily for too long. Originally, Claire was prepared to comfort Lily for a long time when she came out, but unexpectedly Lily's emotions had stabilized. Seeing her come out, Julian put away his smile. "Lily, you play outside with Grandma for a while. Uncle and Mommy have things to discuss." Claire's heart tightened again, afraid Lily would feel she didn't want her, but Lily just nodded, stood up, and went to find Mrs. Miller in the kitchen. Julian smiled. "Don't worry, Lily is stronger than we imagine." Coming to the balcony, he explained, "The vegetables at the supermarket were very fresh today, so I bought some to bring over. Just got here and heard Auntie say you were splashed with plasma. Do you know who that person was?" Turning on her phone, Claire opened Tiffany's homepage. She hadn't updated for a long time until yesterday when she posted, "Any sisters can help me. Chat in the group for details." Creating a new alt account, Claire and Julian entered the group. The password to enter the group was also very bizarre, Claire Slut. The group was very lively, laughing and clamoring. "Sister, beautiful job, dealing with this kind of person deserves this." Scrolling up, the picture of Claire splashed with plasma was conspicuously placed in the group. In the picture, her expression was terrified, covered in plasma. Pinned at the top was a zip file. After downloading and unzipping, Claire's hands and feet went cold. Inside was almost all of her information. Her name, residence, places she usually went, and when she would go home were listed clearly. Even her social network was made into a diagram. There was even a spreadsheet inside titled Activity Schedule. The first item that caught the eye was, "Wait for her to come home, splash her with dog blood." Someone in the group asked doubtfully, "Why aren't the two new people talking? Could it be that slut?" Claire sent a laughing emoji. How could it be? She should still be washing the blood off her body right now. Seeing that expression on her face in the picture makes me happy. Such people who inverted right and wrong actually had believers supporting them. Claire clicked on the profiles of the group members and found that they had all been cheated on by their partners to some extent. They hated such people, so they aimed their spearheads at those women who destroyed happy lives, but didn't notice that in this crusade, the men had completely made themselves invisible. Keeping all the evidence, Claire found her marriage certificate and divorce certificate. Organizing her language, she took pictures of the registration dates of the two certificates and sent them to the group, and published a post on social media. The group fell silent for a second, then her phone showed she had been kicked out of the group chat, but Julian was still in the group. The people in the group started to get angry. What does this mean? So your boyfriend was a married man? You, a mistress, made me help you beat the original wife. More and more doubting voices appeared. Tiffany didn't post a single sentence, silently disbanding the group chat. More people speaking out appeared under Claire's post. I've been annoyed with that Tiff for a long time. Turns out she really is a mistress. Sister endured so long before exposing it and even got splashed with plasma. It's really too hateful. Seeing the popularity of the post gradually rising, Claire and Julian went out to call the police. Opening the door, Ethan appeared at the doorway, but his eyes didn't focus on the open door. Instead, he stared at the wall next to it. Claire leaned out and found the door had been splashed with paint, red and green patches. Touching it with a finger, it was already dry. What happened here? Ethan asked in shock. Are you guys going out? You have to ask your little mistress about that. Claire snorted coldly. We were just about to go out to call the police too. She raised her eyes. To catch your little mistress. Ethan saw the paint on the door and knew the situation was serious. He went to the police station with them too. On the way, the angry fans who had been deceived by Tiffany stripped Tiffany's information bare, just like they had doxed Claire back then. 80% of the persona she created online was fake. Tiffany didn't graduate from a prestigious school, nor did she have a wealthy family background. The exquisite life she lived was even partly funded by embezzled public funds, and her real name and address had nowhere to hide. Just like when she doxed Claire, now she was becoming transparent on the internet. Arriving at the destination, Ethan subconsciously prepared to take Claire's hand, but she walked into the police station side by side with Julian. The police understood the sequence of events. They were initially troubled by the cross-province factors and not knowing Tiffany's specific information, but when Claire placed the information netizens posted about Tiffany in front of the police, they understood. They contacted the police in City B to arrest Tiffany. The matter was roughly settled. Under the clarification post, Claire updated the follow-up, giving an explanation to those netizens who spoke up for her. Walking out of the police station, Claire realized Lily had followed too. Mrs. Miller followed behind. Lily insisted on coming to protect you, so I brought her. Seeing her daughter running over after not seeing her for a long time, Ethan opened his arms, wanting to embrace his daughter. But her daughter bypassed him, throwing herself directly into Claire's arms while smiling and talking to Julian. Uncle Julian, did you protect Mommy well? Of course. Julian made a fist. Uncle Julian is very strong, able to protect both you and Mommy at the same time. Ethan looked back. That harmonious and beautiful picture made it seem like they were the family. He put his hand in his pocket, touching the ring he made himself. It seemed the plan had to be advanced. 3 days later, Claire received a call from the police. Tiffany's case had been accepted. Her massive slander of Claire online, leaking Claire's personal information causing damage to Claire's reputation, instigating people to splash paint and plasma at Claire's door, as well as embezzling company assets. These actions constituted disorderly conduct and embezzlement. Tiffany was sentenced to 3 years in prison with a 2-year probation. Her social media accounts were also banned due to involvement in improper conduct. After the call ended, Claire took a deep breath. No one expected this matter to end in such a way. Unknown when, Lily moved to her feet. "Mommy, was it the policeman uncle calling you?" "Yes, the bad person received the punishment she deserved." Claire squatted down and patted Lily's head. After the scab fell off the place where Lily's forehead was hit before, a small, inconspicuous scar remained. Previously, she demanded hair clips to cover it, but these few days she let the scar show. Seeing Claire staring at her scar, Lily was a bit shy. "Uncle Julian said this is my medal." "Medal?" "Yes, Uncle Julian said this is my medal for being a brave kid, and told me brave kids can't depend on mommy too much. Only by having independence can I become an adult like Mommy and Uncle Julian." Turns out Julian had done so much psychological work on Lily where she couldn't see. She felt Lily becoming more cheerful and energetic. Previously, Claire only tried to make Lily avoid the harm she received before, but forgot to teach her the courage to face the pain. "Uncle Julian is right." She rubbed the scar. "Our Lily is becoming more and more independent and brave." The phone rang. Claire frowned seeing the caller's name, but answered the call anyway. "Hello, Ethan, is there something else?" Since returning from the police station, Ethan still delivered gifts relentlessly every day. Even if Claire told him it wasn't necessary and not to send anymore, new things would still appear at the door the next day, and there was even a share for Lily. Ethan's voice carried some fatigue. "Are you free tomorrow? Can you come out for a bit?" "Ethan," Claire had lost count of how many times she said this sentence to him, "it's impossible for us." "This is the last time, Claire. If you still don't want to see me after tomorrow, I absolutely won't pester you again." Sighing, Claire finally answered, "All right." Getting the meeting address, Claire vaguely felt it was familiar but couldn't recall. When she got there, she realized it was the place Ethan proposed to her back then. He proposed on the grass. At that time, there was a long red carpet, surrounded by balloons for atmosphere, and friends and family blessing them all around. It was the same setup, just missing the friends and family blessing them. Only Ethan stood alone in the center of the venue wearing a suit. Seeing Claire arrive, he smiled and led Claire to the ceremonial hall. Ethan knelt on one knee. He took out an exquisite ring box. Opening it, there was a plain silver band. "Claire, I was bad before. I made this ring myself by hand. Only after going to the workshop to make a ring myself did I know how precious the one you made by hand for me back then was. I was really a jerk before, trampling on your sincerity. Now I have realized my mistake. Please come back to my side." Looking at Ethan's slightly trembling hands, Claire sighed and shook her head. Just as she was about to speak words of rejection, she heard Julian's anxious shout. "Claire, dodge!" The roar of an engine stimulated her eardrums. Claire saw Tiffany driving a car straight at them. The man who had just been kneeling devoutly in front of her discovered this sudden situation and immediately hid alone under the platform nearby. Julian ran from the distance, pulling the still stunned Claire toward the emergency exit. Noticing Claire started to flee, Tiffany quickly turned the steering wheel in Claire's direction, but didn't notice the car was moving too fast to turn. Suddenly, the car lost control, flipped onto the side of the platform, and crashed straight into Ethan, who was hiding under the platform. Seeing the thick white smoke emitting from the vehicle, Claire was still in panic. Her hands were shaking, but she subconsciously dialed 911. Emergency services arrived in time and carried Tiffany out of the driver's seat. Fortunately, protected by the airbag, she lost consciousness, but her life wasn't in danger. But Ethan, crushed under the double pressure of the car and the stage, wasn't so lucky. After emergency rescue efforts by medical personnel, they were powerless to save him. The medical staff declared him dead at the scene. When the police arrived at the scene and saw Claire and Tiffany on the ambulance, they seemed to understand everything. Shock still unsettled, Claire sat in Julian's car, drinking the water he handed her. She suddenly asked, "How did you come here?" Julian was somewhat embarrassed. "I was afraid Tiffany would harm you again, so I followed her alt account on Weibo. Half an hour ago, I saw she posted the location here, saying everything would end here. I had a very bad feeling, so I drove over immediately. Fortunately, I made it in time." His hand covered Claire's hand. She realized Julian was also trembling slightly. "Glad I made it." Julian looked out the window. "Otherwise, I really wouldn't forgive myself." Claire turned her hand over, palm up, interlocking fingers with Julian. "Glad you came." On the way back, she kept thinking about how to tell Lily about Ethan. The police notified his parents. The two elders cried miserably. As his only child, Lily definitely had to attend his funeral. Death is an education children must accept. Dropping them off downstairs, Julian instructed, Lily is a very smart child. She will accept it. Returning home, seeing Lily, Claire stroked her head. Lily, Daddy went to a very far place. We are going to see him off on his final journey tomorrow. Lily seemed to understand, but not fully. Is it the same place Grandpa went? Yes, Claire comforted her. Although Daddy did wrong things sometimes, in his heart he will still always be concerned about and protecting Lily. The funeral ended. Julian came to pick up Claire and Lily. Everything finally came to a close. They held hands together. It seemed a new chapter had begun.